Her book, Gaza Beneath the Bombs, 2010, Pluto Press, with Sarah Irving, is her eyewitness account of the attacks. For many years, she did community work around environmental and human rights campaigning. Her time spent in Palestine led her to acquire basic medical skills, and she is currently a student midwife in the United Kingdom. Henning Mankell, Sweden. Henning is the author of some of the world's best-selling books, some of which have sold more than 30 million copies. The books in his Kurt Wallander detective series are perhaps his most well-known books. In addition to his Gaza activism, he is committed to the global fight against AIDS. He was on board the Mavi Marmara when it was attacked, and has been an outspoken advocate for the flotilla since returning to Sweden. Mered Maguire, Ireland. Mered Corrigan Maguire, Nobel Peace Prize laureate, was co-founder of the Community of Peace People for a Peaceful Resolution of the Northern Ireland conflict. She has been to Palestine several times to defend their human rights. In April 2007 she was wounded by the Israeli army while non-violently protesting with Palestinians against the wall in the village of Bilin. She was on board the second voyage to Gaza, then on board the Spirit of Humanity in 2009, when Israelis hijacked the boat. She was also on board the Rachel Corrie when it too was hijacked and hauled into Israel. Lubna Masawa, Israel-Palestine. Lubna is a Palestinian 48 living in Israel. She is a political dynamic activist in Jerusalem working for the Alternative Information Center and Al-Quds University. She chooses struggle as her way against the occupation. She believes that activists should take the authority to change the reality and not wait for someone else to do it. It's important for her as a Palestinian from 1948 to break the siege and keep the relationship with her people. She has also built links with the Palestinian community in Cyprus, where she is regularly active as an educator and advisor at Masjid Mosque. Cynthia McKinney, U.S. Cynthia is a former U.S. Congresswoman, Green Party presidential candidate, and an outspoken advocate for human rights and social justice. The first African American woman to represent the state of Georgia in the U.S. House of Representatives, McKinney served 6 terms from 1993 to 2003, and from 2005 to 2007. She was arrested, forcibly abducted, and taken to Israel while attempting to take humanitarian and reconstruction supplies to Gaza on June 30, 2009. Niam Maloney, Ireland. Niam is the Irish Free Gaza Coordinator, Cultural Officer of the Irish Palestine Solidarity Campaign, a community arts worker, and mother of 3. She worked to get the Rachel Corrie out of Ireland, and then worked with the UN to get the supplies into Gaza after Israel abducted the ship. Tun Dr. Mahathir bin Mohamad, Malaysia. Tun Mahathir was the 4th Prime Minister of Malaysia. He held the post for 22 years, 1981 to 2003, making him Malaysia's longest-serving Prime Minister, and one of the longest-serving leaders in Asia. Mahathir's political career spanned almost 40 years, from his election as a Malaysian Member of Parliament in 1964, until his resignation as Prime Minister in 2003. As Prime Minister, he was credited with engineering Malaysia's rapid modernization. During his term in office, he was considered by many people as one of Asia's most influential leaders. Mahathir was also widely known as an outspoken critic of Western-style globalization. Fatima Mohammadi, U.S. Fatima helped organize to land convoys from the United States to Gaza in 2009, and was aboard the Mavi Marmara on the Freedom Flotilla in 2010, an extension of her experiences as a human rights activist, attorney, and educator. Of Iranian and American descent, she believes that through education and direct action, all can come to understand the struggles, as well as see the beauty of others throughout the world. She believes that there can be no peace without justice, and no justice without truth. This makes it imperative that we all place ourselves in situations where we can see and intimately know injustice. From there, we must be compelled to speak truth into every circumstance at every opportunity. She strives to honor this practice on a daily basis through both personal interaction and public speaking, and through a continued commitment to actions challenging the ongoing occupation and colonization of Palestine. Adi Mormech, UK. Adi is a human rights advocate based in the Gaza Strip. He arrived through the Rafah border in March 2010. He was abducted by the Israeli Navy while aboard the 8th Free Gaza Movement boat, the Spirit of Humanity. He continues to volunteer with the International Solidarity Movement, ISM, and document Israel's ongoing attacks on Palestinians in Gaza. Andrew Munsey, UK Scotland. Andrew is from Spearnbridge in the Highlands of Scotland. He has philosophy degrees from Aberdeen and Edinburgh universities, plays online poker for a living, and has been deported twice from the West Bank by the Israeli government once, while trying to prevent a collective punishment house demolition in the Balata refugee camp by the Israeli army, and the second time, while working with the Tel Rumida project in Hebron. After arriving on the first Free Gaza boats, Andrew became a long-term ISM observer in Gaza. In spite of being abducted at sea by the Israeli Navy and deported, he returned to Gaza and stayed until fall 2009. Kevin Nash, Canada. Kevin is a retired vocational school instructor who has been a human rights activist all his life. He acted as a human shield and human rights observer in Guatemala, El Salvador, Colombia, and Bethlehem, Palestine. I basically just don't like bullies, and try to fight them whenever I see them, regardless of their race, religion, color, or nationality. Many of the photos he smuggled out when he was one of the passengers on board the Mavi Marmara have been used around the world. Physicians for Human Rights Israel. Physicians for Human Rights Israel, PHR Israel, is a non-profit non-governmental organization that strives to promote a more fair and inclusive society in which the right to health is applied equally for all. It is PHR Israel's view that Israel's prolonged occupation over Palestinian territory is the basis of human rights violations. For this reason they oppose the occupation and endeavor to put an end to it. PHR Israel stands at the forefront of the struggle for human rights, the right to health, particularly in Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories. Ivan Ridley, UK. From County Durham in the United Kingdom, Ivan is a TV presenter, author, and activist. She first came to prominence when arrested and held for 10 days by the Taliban in Afghanistan following the 9/11 atrocity. She was released on humanitarian grounds. A founding member of Stop the Wall and the Respect Party, she has been trying to enter Gaza for many years to show solidarity with the people trapped there. After arriving on the initial FG voyage, she has returned to Gaza as part of the Viva Palestina land convoy. MJ Rosenberg, US. MJ is Senior Foreign Policy Fellow at Media Matters Action Network. Previously, he worked on Capitol Hill for various Democratic members of the House and Senate for 15 years. He was also a Clinton political appointee at USAID. In the early 1980s, he was editor of the AIPAC weekly newsletter, Near East Report. From 1998 to 2009, he was director of policy at Israel Policy Forum. Bianca Shana, France. Bianca is the daughter of a Palestinian refugee who was exiled to Lebanon in 1948. She has a master's degree in political sociology and runs a company dealing with educational products for children in Paris. She is also an activist for the Palestinian right of return. Jean Saintonge, US. Jean, principal of Saintonge and Associates, is a Lebanese American and a licensed civil/structural engineer who lives and works in Oakland, California. He has over 30 years of experience with all types of structural building systems worldwide. Most recently, he has been involved with the Qatar Working Group, QWG, which was established by the Qatar Foundation to develop a program for rebuilding Gaza. As part of his work with the QWG, once reaching Gaza with the flotilla, he was planning to meet with the lead UNRWA engineers in charge of reconstruction to better assess needs and resources. Jean is working with the QWG to explore ways to use appropriate technology, that is, local materials with green building systems, to substantially reduce cost and increase the use of locally trained labor. Jean is also co-founder of the Middle East Policy Advisory Committee, MEPAC, a consortium of over 15 peace and justice groups in the San Francisco Bay Area, which work toward transforming U.S. policy in the region to one based on respect for human rights and international law. Iyad Seraj, MD, Gaza, Palestine. Dr. Iyad is a psychiatrist and founder of the Gaza Community Mental Health Program and founder of the International Campaign to End the Siege of Gaza. He is also a commissioner of Palestinian Independent Commission for Human Rights and is one of Free Gaza's advisors in Gaza. Adam Shapiro, U.S. Adam is a documentary filmmaker, human rights activist, and Palestinian rights activist. He lived in the occupied Palestinian territory from 1999 to 2002 and helped found the International Solidarity Movement, ISM. His films include the award-winning documentary film about Baghdad, released in spring 2004, Darfur Diaries, Message from Home, released in fall 2005, and Becoming Nadia, released 2007. His latest film is a documentary series on Palestinian refugees all over the world, called Chronicles of a Refugee. Adam previously served as country director in Afghanistan for the internationally renowned human rights organization Global Rights. He is co-author of the book Darfur Diaries, Stories of Survival, Nation Books. David Schermerhorn, U.S. David is a commercial film producer and is 81 years young. He was part of the crew of the Free Gaza on its voyage to Gaza in August and also of the Dignity on its voyage in October. He is an explorer, adventurer, and has traveled around the world on boats. He has been part of the crew on almost every voyage, and was on the Challenger 1 in May 2010, when Israel attacked the flotilla. Hilary S., UK. Hilary lives in Sheffield, England, and has long been an advocate in Palestinian solidarity work there. She has been involved grassroots organizing, particularly in the initial grant and fundraising efforts that made the Free Gaza movement possible. She continues to do media support work on behalf of Free Gaza. Ren Toll, U.S. Ren was born in San Francisco, California, USA, in 1953, as was his mother. His father, a fifth George Toll, was born and raised in Jerusalem, Palestine, and was visiting the United States in May 1948, and as a result could not freely return and became a displaced person. Ren first became aware of the politics surrounding the Palestinian problem after the June War of 1967 as an 8th grader, and has maintained an interest ever since. He was on the first voyage to Gaza in August 2008. Miriam Tours, U.S. Miriam, retired social worker / MSW, spent more than 2 weeks in Palestine in the summer of 2010 on a delegation with Christian peacemaker teams. The delegation visited Palestinian and Israeli organizations involved in nonviolent resistance to Israel's military occupation, visited refugee camps, stayed with Palestinian families in Hebron, and provided mosque and school patrols to provide international protection to children and farmers from routine violence by Israeli settlers. They visited the Bedouin village of Al-Arakib in the Negev just 3 days before the Israeli army and high school students demolished it. Miriam reports that, after working for Palestinian self-determination for 25 years, the visit still presented many surprises, and was an emotional roller coaster from sadness and despair to joy, and serious reason to hope, and sometimes back again, even in just one day.